So just to sort of recap it, projected cash outflows, future liabilities, matching these with appropriate assets is what asset liability management is all about. The idea was, and I'm not by any means a specialist on ALM, the idea was to try and demystify this as much as possible, so we try and appreciate the idea, the concept behind it, and then Junaid can come in and perhaps elaborate on it a little bit. Yes, please.
Considering the model applied by other AMCs, etc., what I have failed to grasp from this presentation is the difference between the model currently applied and this asset liability model. A. Now, the second question is that that regards the implementation of this model. You talk about investments going into the next 20, 30, 40 years. For a person like me, I'm almost 24, so I'll think of investing like in the life cycle fund for the next 40 years. What has been a tragic incident with Pakistan's financial history is the fact that we have seen a lot of downfalls and a lot of people just hobbling away with money, with the public money, and going away. So there exists a massive trust deficit on part of the public. Even if you, let's say, assuming that you succeed and all the AMCs succeed to implement this model in their businesses, how do you plan to counter the trust deficit factor, which is the most important? See, let's say the asset management industry, it's around, say, 250 billion rupees at the moment, considering compared to the banking deposits, that's around 4.5 trillion rupees approximately. That's very small as compared to the total financial industry, and what could potentially be the size of it. So how do you plan, say, 250 billion and 4,500 billion? How do you plan to lift that up to that level and then implement this in a very successful manner?
I'm glad you asked that question. And first things first, the trust deficit part of your question. Yes, I agree, there is a trust deficit, but I also must say, I've worked in this industry for about 9-10 years now. Despite the fact that we're not quite there, we're still very small as an industry, but we've made some headway. An average asset management company today would have 10-12,000 investors. We started off having a couple of hundred for years. So, and we've probably already seen the worst of it. We've probably seen whatever could go wrong. It was Murphy's Law at its full force, a couple of years ago. And that was the time when the industry was sort of beginning to take off. With time, I think the trust would come back. It is, I at least feel that it's already coming back. But I think a role needs to be played by the regulator. That's very, very important. And then secondly, by fund managers themselves. But if we have stringent enough regulation, see, at least in this structure, no one can run away with your money. Yes, they can make a mess of it, but they cannot run away with it. So you don't have what you call exactly a risk of default directly on the asset manager per se. That's the structure, that's the nature of the beast. That's how it is, because asset managers do not have physical control of your money. It's with someone else, and they just actually have only the right to request that trustee to place the money wherever they deem fit. So, and then gradually, with forums like these, people will start to understand the structure of this business, the quality of the regulator, and the quality of the asset manager. And I'm not saying the quality is spot on and it's there. What I'm saying is that it is improving. We went through a bit of an upheaval, and I think that also shook us up. It was probably a blessing in disguise, and we, I think, made amends after that, and some of us have learned from our lessons from the regulatory standpoint and from the asset managers standpoint. We'd probably come up with better products now, have better risk managers, etc. So that deficit, I think, would go away. An interesting example where we usually like to draw parallels is India. where it was, till 1996 is it? It was really till about 17, 18 years ago that India was about the same, so 6-7% of bank deposits, very small asset management companies, and then boom, one fine day, the floodgates opened. And now they have, I think they have a company now managing over ₹1 trillion, over ₹1 trillion. And it happened in a few years. So I'm not saying that we are going to manage ₹1 trillion in the next 4 or 5 years, but what I'm saying is that this is a process which would build up gradually. It has built up in the last 9-10 years. We got derailed for a little bit, but it's back on track, and inshallah, with time, that deficit would close in. And it's probably for people like us, people like you, to sort of understand it better than anyone else. Did I respond to your question adequately, I suppose? Okay. Does anybody else wants to ask it? Sorry. This wasn't the first one? If you could repeat it, please. I can hear you, that's all right. And the conventional model. Okay, see, as we see it, there is no conventional model. And not just with asset management companies or with mutual funds, with anything. And that's the point I was, which I very unsuccessfully sort of made during my presentation. The issue is that we do not realize it probably. See, when I'm running let's say a fixed income fund, I have a variety of assets to choose from. I can invest into T-bills, I can invest into PIBs, I can invest into corporate bonds, TFCs, I can invest into short-term placements, I can leave money with the bank. So I have a horizon of credit risk. I can go from premium government risk to corporate risk, and you have commercial banks, financial institutions in the middle. You have a full horizon of interest rates. You can go from very short dated 1 day to 10 years. And how do you then determine that what is the right mix for you? It would vary from one fund manager to another, but what you do is that you try to ascertain how your cash outflows would look like. If I have in my fund someone who holds 50% of my fund and is likely to leave in the next few months, days, what I would do is that I would hold about 50% of my fund in shorter term assets. So perhaps what you need to look when you get into a mutual fund, a fixed income mutual fund, is how diversified is the investor base, because that would help the investor. If some of you are familiar with 2008, when the stock market crisis hit us, in the fixed income arena, there were a lot of corporate defaults. So some TFCs were not doing so well, and therefore some funds showed a loss on their net asset value. But even the bigger problem was that there was a liquidity crunch. And there was a liquidity crunch because we were exposed on just too few investors who wanted their money all at the same time. And we were not prepared for it. So there was a delay, a queue to actually be able to settle that. So if we were doing our ALM right, we would not have had a problem. Bank treasuries, as all of us know, they run this ALM model. They could probably improve it a little bit, but they already run it. Corporates, why do corporates try and remain on the shorter end of the yield curve? Interest rate risk कम रखते हैं, credit risk कम रखते हैं, बैंकों में पैसे रखते हैं या money market funds में रखते हैं, because most corporates would have a view कि आगे expansion आने वाली है या dividend payout आने वाला है या something of the sort. So they know their liability, and that's why they're not going into stocks. You know, a corporate which has 10-year money put away may even want to venture into that. So at some level we recognize it, but we just don't fully appreciate it. And I think that's the gap, the void that we're trying to fill in, and that's what Junaid is going to sort of comment on in a little more detail. I think I've thoda sa time zyada ho gaya hai, so I'd wrap up mine here and let Junaid continue with his version, but thank you for hearing me out.